Welcome back to Ask Amy. I have a question today from Holden. I'm going to read it. It's on my Instagram, so I'm going to read it really briefly. So Holden says, "Hi Amy, I love your channel. About a year and a half ago, I had my first panic attack and my first true bout of anxiety that was overwhelming. My body was flooded with adrenaline and I was so stressed out. This has put me on a journey about mindfulness, emotions, feelings, and everything about anxiety. I still have generalized anxiety, but it's slowly getting better." He says, a big thing that I'm still trying to understand is if the anxiety has some meaning to it, or if it's simply just something that's occurring in my experience. There's so much stuff out there about how trauma or your past causes your anxiety and has hidden messages about your life. What's your perspective on this? So I immediately asked Holden if I could speak to it here because it's way too much to try to write about on an Instagram private message, but also because this is such a common question. I just recorded a podcast episode about it, which will be out in a few weeks, but I was there too, Holden. And I think so many people with anything, with anxiety, with depression, with anything, habits, addictions that we're up against, our brain, it's just how a brain and a mind work. The brain and the mind want to know the reason for everything, not because there is a reason necessarily. And I'm not saying there isn't. I'm just saying, like, the fact that your mind is like, why and what caused this and where's it going and why is this happening to me? Just the fact that that conversation is playing out in your head, that conversation is what a mind does. It's what a brain does. So just the sheer presence of that conversation doesn't really mean anything except that you have a brain that works really well. That's doing exactly what it's meant to do, because our brain is all about just making sense of all this stuff. Now, even when I say it like that, making sense of it, I don't really mean to imply that it does make sense of it, that it like captures all this stuff we think and feel and that moves through us, that our mind captures that and tells, comes to some real valid conclusions. I'm not saying that actually. I'm just saying it's the job of our mind and our brain to try to do that. So anything that comes down our path, anything that shows up in our experience, especially something that catches you off guard, like anxiety from out of nowhere, or that comes back more than once or twice or three times, your mind, your left brain is going to be all over that, trying to see the pattern and the reason and the story behind it and what it means about you, simply because that's the way a brain works. It tries to protect you by predicting everything, by telling you why this happened so that you can do this to prevent it in the future and how you're going to stay safe and happy and live to be 200. That's just the MO of the mind/brain. So the fact that your mind's trying to figure this all out, normal, and that in and of itself doesn't mean anything. Get back to your question. So the other thing, so everybody, I think, who's had, some struggle has had a mind trying to figure it out exactly like this. And me too, when it gets into like, there's so much around, oh, is there a message in this? What's the hidden message, as you say, about your life and all of that? And all I can say is that what I've seen about this human design and how it works is that it's really beautiful. It's really helpful. It's really logical. We can misunderstand it at times, and we misunderstand it often, a lot of the time. But I don't think it's a puzzle we need to solve. I don't think we were designed in such a way where we get little pieces, but now you better figure the rest out, or here's like a little taste of, something you really need to see, but it's completely hidden from view, but you really need it. I just think anything that leaves us feeling like we need something we don't have has to be thought. It has to be our mind. Again, that left brain, that lower brain, that mind saying, oh no, I need this, I need this, I need this. But think about even just that statement. We clearly don't actually need anything we don't have. If we don't have it, it's not a need, right? So So all of that conversation and that there's a hidden meaning in this and I better decode it and I better dig more and figure it out, but it hurts to dig more and I'm confused and I don't know what I'm doing. I think all of that, 100% of that, is just our mind trying to figure things out, other people's minds trying to figure things out, and writing books about decoding stuff from our experience and all of that. That honestly, I think is just, and this is just my opinion, but I think it's taken us way off track, and it leads people to feel hopeless and scared and like victims of their own experience. And like there's some puzzle they need to, some code they need to crack, but that they don't have the tools to do it. And that is my opinion. But again, the thing I would really have you look toward that's so much bigger than opinion, one person's opinion, is how that feels. When we are left feeling like, oh no, there's something I need to see and I can't see it, or some hidden thing here that I need to uncover and I don't know how to uncover it, that feels hopeless and tiny and restricted and closed. And what I've seen about life and how it works is that anytime we're feeling those things, we are in our own personal thinking. You are not feeling a bigger reality of, oh yeah, there is a code and you don't have it. It's our own mind in that moment is saying, you need something you don't have, and what are you going to do? It's all that mental stuff that is not anything that you would want to believe or take seriously. It can't possibly be true. It's just your own thinking in that very moment. And then it changes and different thinking comes in. So there's no there that's really true. So the whole feeling of, that there's something you need to kind of figure out or dig for, I can't tell you how to see it, but this is how I see it. And I would really encourage you to kind of sit with that idea and see if it resonates with you, that, hey, if I'm feeling hopeless and powerless and confused and like I need all this stuff, can that really be true? Because what about in the next moment when you don't feel that? When you didn't get any answers, the only thing that shifted is your thinking. Your mind went off somewhere else, got distracted from all that worry, and now you're okay suddenly. And again, you didn't get all your problems solved. Your mind went in a different place. It wasn't beating the drum of there's a thing you need that you don't have. So around anxiety more generally, so you say, I'm trying to decide if it has some meaning to it or if it's simply just something that's occurring in my experience. What we know is it is something that's occurring in your experience, right? If there's more to see around it, like if it's waking you up to something or showing you something or pointing towards something, you have to see that. You have to know that in the moment through your experience. So to me, the question really, it keeps coming back to the same place. It's like, well, if I don't know if there's a bigger meaning to this anxiety or what it's trying to wake me up to, still, all I can do is just know that it's experience moving through me. And if there's something I need to see in this, I'll see it, or else I don't need to see it. That makes sense? Like, I know that can sound, especially when you're worried and kind of have some anxiety going, that can sound like way too scary to trust, or like too simple, or but what if that's not it and then I miss it, But again, notice how those things feel when it looks like, oh no, life is hard and what if, and I'm not safe. That is anxiety, Holden. That is thought. There is no bigger truth to that, because again, just the most immediate little piece of evidence I can point to show you that is that when your dog walks in the room and needs to go outside and your mind goes away from, oh no, I need something I don't have, and focuses on the dog for a minute, you're okay. like your problems go away for a minute. And the reason that is because our problems are created by thinking that looks really, really real. So it is always experience in the moment. Even if there's something bigger it's showing you and waking you up to, it doesn't matter. It's not your job to dig for that. It's still experience in the moment. And all the wisdom and the common sense and the things we see, the insights, they come to us via experience in the moment. So it kind of just makes sense to see that that's always the case, no matter what. Your question around trauma, whether trauma causes anxiety, I don't see how it causes it in a universal way, because obviously we all have traumas of varying degrees, very varying, but we all have stuff. And even people with more extreme trauma, as if we can define that and know where the limits of that are, they all have different experiences to that trauma, different consequences. Some have a ton of anxiety, some don't, and same with people with no real what the world might label trauma. Many of them have lots of anxiety, many don't. So I wouldn't point to trauma as the thing. For sure, it's a factor, like it's a thing that is hard and grabs our attention and gets our mind moving. But again, when we're looking at anxiety, what we're really talking about is just this heightened energy. This heightened energy that just shows up. And then our mind comes in and tells stories about that energy. So our mind comes in and says, oh no, I'm having a panic attack. What does this mean? And then it turns into a whole other level of anxiety. But really all we're talking about is heightened energy. Now, can some sort of trauma lead to heightened energy in a person? Absolutely. Can it kind of teach our brain and our body and kind of, that's a thing to do, to like protect itself, to spike up this energy? Absolutely. But your experience of that energy is down to what you see and understand about it. So you can have all kinds of kicked up energy, all kinds of fight or flight symptoms. And if you know, okay, this is experience in the moment, I don't need to figure it out. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm okay. It's just experience. Like, again, I'm not saying say those things to yourself, but if that's how it looks to you, you're going to have a radically different experience of that versus if it looks like, oh no, this is showing me something and I don't know what it is and I need to figure it out. That's going to be a whole rabbit hole down a whole other experience of this thing called anxiety. So I hope that helps and makes some sense. Always, for all of us, I never hate to say like it doesn't matter what happened in the past, because I don't mean to like dismiss it in that way. I just mean for our experience right now today, it's incredibly helpful to let the past be in the past and just look at either way, trauma, no trauma, things to see in this, no things to see in this. I'm here. I'm feeling something that's safe and moving and totally natural and okay. And if there's something to see in it that's helpful for you, you'll see it. And if there's something you don't see, keep open to it, but you don't need it, because if you needed it, you'd have it. So thank you so much, Holden, for your question. I really hope this is helpful, and I hope it's helpful to others. So send your questions to AskAmy at thelittleschoolofbigchange.com, and I will be back here next Monday with another one. Have a great week.